What is going on, baseball fans? Welcome to episode 12 of season 2 for This Week in Baseball, presented by Diamond Digest. I am your host, Jordan Lazowski, live broadcasting with 4 of our panelists today versus our usual 3. A new face today, Christian Lloyd, Diego Franco Carreno, Jonathan Roy, Jay Roy. I will never call you Jonathan again. That's so good. And Ethan Fisher. 3 familiar faces, 1 not so familiar face, even though he is a Diamond Digest mainstay. I guess we'll start, Christian, since you've never been on one of these before. Brief introduction for all the fans.
I'm a pitiful Angels fan, Lakers fan, Argentina fan, and Saints fan. I love Max Stassi, Shohei Ohtani, and David Fletcher. Herman Marquez should be an Angel, and that's really all I have.
That sounds about right.
If you follow Christian on Twitter, you're probably familiar with a lot of these things. But it's great to have you on. It's great to have such a big crew. We're going live for this hour before the draft starts, and we have an hour, our live broadcast for that as well. But let's jump right in. We'll have our usual standings updates, around the league in 60 seconds, any other weekly wrap-up type items. 7th inning stretch is going to be very all-star themed, as it is the all-star break. And we'll have some draft talk in there too, but we don't want to steal too much thunder from our live crew after us. But let's jump into it. Around the league in 60 seconds, right after the standings update. Nice catch there by me. In the AL East, the Red Sox lead the division by 1.5 games over the Rays. In the AL West, the Houston Astros lead the division by 3.5 over Oakland. The Chicago White Sox have the biggest lead in the American League currently, with an 8-game lead over Cleveland. Your 2 wildcard teams out there would be the Tampa Bay Rays and the Oakland Athletics. In the National League, the Mets remain the only team over 500 in the NL East. They have a 3.5-game lead. With what feels like a dramatic shift since the last time we've been on the air, the Milwaukee Brewers have a pretty big lead of 4 games in the NL Central. And no surprises here, although it is the eternal surprise. The San Francisco Giants lead the NL West by 2 games over the Dodgers. Your 2 wildcard teams in the NL, the Dodgers and the Padres. So just on many other weeks, as always, 3 NL West teams kicking us off here for the playoffs. Diego, it's the end of the first half. And we've talked about them a lot, and we're still talking about them. The Giants leading the NL Central.
NL West, actually, but...
Or excuse me, the NL West. This is why we don't do these live. I'm not going to... The NL West. Yeah. You can take your victory tour.
It's been so exciting. I remember week 1 or week 2, I'm like, we'll see how long it lasts. And here we are at the All-Star break. They will have the best record in baseball going into the break. No matter what happens today, they could lose today and still have the best record in baseball at the break. And everyone's going to be forced to talk about how good the Giants are at the break, and that makes me excited because no one wants to. They're a team no one wants to be good, but they're good, and it looks like they got some staying power. Hopefully they add a piece or two at the deadline to just keep up what they've got going and keep on top of the NL West.
Now, I don't want to steal too much maybe from some of the trade deadline stuff, but where do you go if you're the Giants? What are you trying to add?
I think they should look for a rotation piece, maybe 2. We've had a lot of health issues in the rotation, and I think even maybe a bench piece if they really want to, or I think rotations should be the focus. Maybe one high leverage reliever, but that's probably about it. Their team's been really, really good. And I know our GM, Farhan Zahidi, said he doesn't want to do too much to it, and he doesn't need to if they keep up what they got going on. So we'll see what happens. I think pitching is going to be their main focus, though.
That makes sense. I don't know. It feels weird every week to continue to talk about this team, and it's fun, though. It's a fun story, and I enjoy it. But I don't want to steal too much from the rest of you guys. We're going to jump into Around the League in 60 seconds. For those new who are listening or who might just be popping along and see this on your Twitter feed, first of all, welcome. Second of all, Around the League in 60 seconds. Each of our panelists gives their recap of the week because although I write all of the questions for 7th inning stretch, there are things I miss, and these guys all will have their chance to make sure we don't miss anything. We will start with J. Roy.
Okay.
Is he
Yeah.
close? He's gone. Okay.
So kind of an interesting thing. What? Am I here?
Yeah,
You're
keep going.
Keep going.
Talk.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So kind of an interesting thing, kind of a scary thing. Last few days, they discovered that huge cache of ammunition at the hotel in Denver. Kind of a scary thing. Hopefully that has some safety ramifications on the game itself or the Derby, anything like that. I think since the last time I was on the podcast a few weeks ago, standings really haven't changed much. The Astros have started playing a lot better baseball, which I think is interesting. I predicted them to win that division this year, but a lot of other people did not. But I think they're kind of playing right as I expected them to this year. Dodgers are playing really good baseball, kind of the way we thought they would of the whole year. I think they'll overtake the Giants at some point in the second half, and I think they'll end up winning that division. And I think Shohei Ohtani has continued to be the most exciting player in the game. But I want to say, as great as Ohtani has been, Vlad Jr. has still been a better offensive player this year, and so I thought I should just throw that out there and mention that.
Oh God!
The Phillies took a few games from the Cubs, which is pretty exciting, and I think they might have put the Cubs to be sellers this season, so that's kind of cool. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Is it really a This Week in Baseball appearance by J. Roy if he doesn't at least say something to stir the pot?
Laz, this is why I'm on the show now. I'm just doing what is expected of me.
He's not wrong.
He's not wrong. I agree.
Also, Zach
Oh, go
Wheeler has
ahead.
been the second best pitcher in the NL this year. I just wanted to throw that out there.
That's not true. It's Gosman. Anyway, keep going.
Actually, it's Brandon Woodruff, but that's okay. As much as I hate the Brewers, it's Brandon Woodruff.
It's Kevin Gosman.
Yeah, I also made note of Shohei Ohtani. I don't know what else there is to say about him that hasn't been said already. 16 home runs in his last 21 games, which tied a record that Kyle Schwarber set 2 weeks ago. So that's just insane. The Cubs suck. I'd love to see it. 11 straight losses after they no-hit the Dodgers, which I don't even know how you do that. But like I said, I'm not complaining. I hate the Cubs. Another no-hitter, the Rays had a combined 7-inning no-hitter against Cleveland. So that was kind of cool to see. Yeah. Garrett Cole, he's been the subject of a lot of criticism with all the sticky stuff after he struggled for a couple starts after they started to crack down, but he came back in a big way. Shutting out Houston on 129 pitches, which is something you don't see a lot nowadays either. There were a lot of injuries this week too. I just made a note of some of the guys who were placed on the injured list this week. Obviously, Ronald Acuna, we're talking about that really sucks. I don't like the Braves either, but that's just a real bummer for the entire game. Buster Posey, Carlos Correa, Blake Snell, Drew Pomeranz, Sonny Gray, Clayton Kershaw, Anthony Rendon, and Yasmani Grandal. My condolences, RIP. And the last note I have here, we have another trade. Rowdy Tellez to Milwaukee. Not a huge trade, but he's a good bat, and I wonder if that's going to accelerate the market a little bit here in the coming weeks.
Yeah, the market has been non-existent, and I mean, with so many, I think what might be part of the problem that I'm concerned about, at least just from this perspective, is with so many of the races feeling like they're kind of either over or close to over. I don't know how many teams are like, oh, we're going to spend and go add. We might add a piece here or there, but it's been a slow market, and I think a lot of the bigger division leads outside of really the NL West, to be honest with you, is part of what's going on there. Everyone else kind of has already figured out whether or not they're in playoffs, and that might have something to do with it. But Diego, what you got?
I'm not sure if anything else to add. I had notes down, and Ethan hit every single one of them. So it's about it. It sucks. A lot of injuries. It's hard to watch, but I mean, the All-Star game's up here. It's very exciting times. I have nothing else to add. Ethan pretty much hit everything. So there you go.
Perfect. Easy enough. Christian?
Yeah, I mean, you guys have covered quite a bit. Otani's been awesome. I couldn't ask for more from him. The Angels have been over 500 by 3 games since we've lost Trout. We haven't had Trout, Rendon, or Upton for the majority of the season. We're still over 500. There's currently 8 teams in the AL West and AL East that are over 500 or at 500. I don't think any division is sealed right now. I don't think any lead is close to sealed. Like the Astros, maybe. Like I feel like they have that division locked, but everyone else, no. The wild card spots, especially. I don't think the trade market's gonna like slow down from that.
Oh yeah, I wasn't saying slow down. It was more so maybe there's teams who aren't so trigger
Ready to
happy.
commit,
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Like-
There's nothing catalyzing the trade market this year.
Yeah.
right.
I do
And
think
that-
for
Okay.
I do think for one thing, with starting pitchers under control, with this new CBA coming up, a lot of teams are not willing to deal with them right now. They want to wait till after the market and see where they can go from there. So that's why a lot of like Marquez, Woodruff, anyone, I guess not Woodruff, but any of those, they're not being sold right now.
I think it's going to be tough to see where even just any position players with control too. Kind of, it's like this is a very uncertain market in many ways too. It's like I don't know what the next CBA is going to look like, and I think and I mean the market for rentals is the market for rentals. It's never been something phenomenal, so it's like I think all of that kind of contributes to a slower market, but hopefully one that picks up here. Well, at least we covered everything. I did want to go back to Jay Roy's comment real quick about what was found at Denver Hotel. I think it's a very scary situation, but I think it's worth at least making sure that the hero of or the maid or whoever was the one who found it gets at some point the recognition they deserve for looks like preventing something that could have been pretty freaking serious. And hats off to them for being a hero in that situation. I hope he or she gets the recognition they deserve in due time. So let's jump into the 7th inning stretch. Our main segment here as I pull up. Nope, not my face. It's been 12 weeks. I should have this by now. Our scoreboard here. So we've got 4 names this time. The regular drill, 7 questions. I assign points completely arbitrarily. Most points wins. Is everyone ready to go? Let's do it then.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Inning 1, the big conversation tonight and our stream immediately after this is no surprise, the MLB draft.
What?
Ethan, we're going to start with you for pretty obvious reasons. Who will the Pirates draft first overall? And who do you think will be the biggest surprise pick in this year's first round?
Okay, I just want to preface with this. As a fan of the team that has the top pick, I am more excited about the fact that the Pittsburgh media can just stop talking about it once the pick is over. I'm more excited about that than the actual pick, which I'm very excited about. The takes I've seen and heard all over from the media have just been absolutely dreadful, ranging from the Pirates are going to go under slot because they're cheap and they don't want to win, from the Pirates literally have to take the next Barry Bonds to the Pirates absolutely have to take one of the Vanderbilt pitchers to the Pirates can't take a pitcher because they will ruin his development. That's my least favorite one. It makes me want to commit a crime. All that's going to be done after this, which I'm happy about. I think Marcelo Mayer is ultimately going to be the pick. I think that's the right pick. I'm not super opinionated, though, because I trust them to make the right pick. In Ben, we trust. But as far as the biggest surprise tonight, I think it's going to be Will Bednar. I think he's going to go a lot higher than people were expecting him to, especially after he threw, 6 or 7 hitless innings in the title game. I think someone's going to swoop in and get him pretty early.
Let's jump to Diego.
Yeah, so, I mean, I actually just going to agree with Ethan there. I think Marcelo Meyer, I don't know how to pronounce his name, is the one that we're going to see the Pirates take here. I've seen a lot of these other takes as well. just mostly because I follow Ethan on Twitter. But that's why I've been seeing the takes. But they've been all over the place. A lot of them have been atrocious. We've come a long way from Kumar Rocker is easily 1-1. We're not even close to that anymore. Kumar Rocker going 1-1 would be a huge surprise, I think, to anyone in baseball circles. But I think the biggest surprise is going to be, if you saw last night on Twitter, I tweeted out, this is a reminder for every MLB team that I am eligible to be drafted. So I can play anywhere you need. Here's some scouting reports. I'm an elite morale booster. I've heard 80 grade. Also, should never actually be inserted into a game for any reason. So that sounds like something a lot of teams need, especially the Diamondbacks after last night. Let's be real. I tweeted at them specifically as well. So I think I'm ready to go to Arizona right now. Like, we'll see what happens. But in all seriousness, I think Kumar is going to fall out of the top 10. I think we're going to see him maybe go. I want him to fall to San Francisco. I don't think he's going to fall that far outside of the top 10, but I think he's falling out of the top 10.
That would be a pretty big surprise. Christian, what you thinking?
So for the Pittsburgh Pirates, I think Khalil Watson's going to end up being the guy they choose this season. They've liked him a lot going forward, and a lot of rumors are just surfacing more and more as it's getting closer to the deadline. Myers is like on everyone's number one, but I think they're going to go with Khalil Watson. The biggest surprise today, it's going to be the Baltimore Orioles taking Will Taylor 8th overall. Will Taylor was possibly going to go to the Angels 1-9 maybe, but that was everyone just thinking we're going to take a high school prospect again. They're going to go under slot with him. He was projected to go 17th overall max maybe, but I think that's going to be the biggest increase in prospects.
Always seems like there's one of them. Heston Kierstead last year was a good example of that, going second overall to
under slot.
Yeah. So there's always something like that. But J-Roy?
Okay, yeah. So I kind of agree with Ethan here in that I think Bednar could go a lot higher than a lot of people think he could, just because of how awesome he was in that title game. Mm-hmm. And on the flip side of that, I think I agree with Diego. I think Rocker might fall out of the top 10 because he was not very good in that game. I think he only topped out at like 94. I think that worries a lot of scouts. I think that there's a real chance he falls pretty low and maybe even out of the top 10. I think that the Pirates will take Meyer number 1 overall. And, looking into this guy, he seems super legit out of Chula Vista, California, 60 hit tool, and a lot of people are comparing him to like Corey Seager. Man, if they get a Corey Seager type talent at number 1 overall, I think you got to be really happy, and I saw one thing saying that he might be like Chipper Jones or something. I was like, you got to be excited if you're a Pirates fan. And those are the kind of comps that guys throwing out there. I think Christian mentioned something very interesting with, Khalil Watson, just because he is also a shortstop. We could see something ridiculous and they end up taking him at number 1 instead of Meyer. I don't think that's likely to happen, but, it is something to keep on the radar. And once again, like Diego said, hey, I'm eligible to be drafted. If he wants to draft me, go ahead and draft me. But unlike Diego, I believe that I could actually go out there and play. So, if someone wants to
– okay, sure.
If someone
you have 80 grade morale boosting?
Hey, I'm good at that too, but
in your career, do you think you would surpass Ryan Howard in WAR?
I'm not entertaining that.
No further questions.
Oh, God. It's an exciting time, though, for baseball fans. I think the draft's a fun time for every team. Whether or not it's whether you're picking 30 or you're picking 1, I think an infusion of new young talents is always a fun time. And Ethan, we certainly hope brighter times are ahead for you and the Pittsburgh Pirates organization. So,
me too.
Yeah, hopefully y'all don't really
I'm in the AL. I don't really care.
That's fair.
Pain. Wish I was wearing that shirt right now, but I'm not. I didn't plan that well.
All right, let's head into inning 2. Yesterday, as we mentioned, it was announced that Ronald Acuna suffered a complete tear of his ACL, and will need to undergo surgery. Given that Acuna is expected to be out 9 to 10 months, I'm going to go with J-Roy here. Where do the currently 500 Braves go? Like, how do they handle this season and even part of next year in terms of competing, building this team? What do the Braves do from here?
Yeah, that's a good question. First of all, I just want to say I was gutted by this injury. Acuna is like my favorite of this class of young players among like Tatis, Soto. I really love Acuna. I think that he's not even in his prime yet. I think in his prime he'll be like a walking 8-win player. Like I just think there's no ceiling to how good he can be. I've heard a lot of Braves fans saying that they really want to go out and extend Freeman, and obviously that seems like a no-brainer. The guy was the MVP last year, and he started off pretty slow at the beginning of this year, but he's turned it around a lot last I checked. And, it's hard to say. I think most teams in this situation would sell at this point, but that NL East is so mediocre. Like the Mets are a few games ahead, and I think the Mets will definitely win this division. But if you're the Braves, like, there's got to be something in the back of your mind thinking like maybe we could make a shot at this. The Phillies are so inconsistent, and they're like your only other real competition besides the Mets. So honestly, if I'm the Braves, I'm putting the foot on the gas. I'm saying yes, our number one guy went down, but like that's no reason to just like punt on this season. Once you scrape it, like if you scrape in on a wild card or something, it's MLB postseason. Anything can happen. They could make a run. Who knows? So, I would buy if I were them.
Christian, agree, disagree?
I disagree. I agree with his point that they're in a very weak division and it's very contendable. They don't have a chance at the wild card with the Dodgers, Giants, and Padres. Those are all 95-plus win teams at this point, if we had to expect. So if they do go and commit this season and they don't, they're just going to be stuck where Anaheim's been stuck in middle of the pack. You're not going to get a good draft pick. You're maybe at 500, maybe over. It's not worth it. They have Charlie Morton, Will Smith, and maybe Freddie Freeman to deal. At least Charlie Morton, Will Smith. They have no reason to be on this team past July.
Diego, where do you fall on this one?
Yeah, I actually thought my they should buy and go for it take was going to be by itself, but I absolutely think they can compete in that division, like J-Roy was saying. It was bold of J-Roy to call the Phillies competition, but I guess. But yeah, they're only 4 games out of first. They can very much compete in one of the weakest divisions in baseball. They could add some pieces there. You can add a rental or two to kind of push through that Acuna injury. And they've still got some pretty quality players, on that team. Freeman, Albies, that rotation's been, I'm pretty sure it's been pretty decent. It can, they've been underperforming, so hopefully they kind of bounce back to expectations. Because you got to remember, this team was a win away from the World Series last year. And it's not too different from that team that, they had. So I think they absolutely can push, not for a wild card. Like Christian said, the NL West is going to take 3 wild card spots. It's good. I mean, if you look at the rest of the NL, I'd be extremely surprised if the wild cards aren't 2 NL West teams. But yeah, I think they can push forward and add, compete, and make a run at the Mets. It's not too far fetched.
Ethan?
No, I'm with Christian here. I think the Braves should sell. They were barely treading water, even with Acuna healthy. They've had so many other injuries on their roster that I think this is just going to be the final blow for them. I think just about anybody on an expiring contract not named Freddie Freeman should be on the table. I know you mentioned Charlie Morton, Will Smith, Drew Smiley, Travis d'Arnaud, Chris Martin, Shane Green, Ender Inciarte. Take calls on all of them.
Mm-hmm.
You can get something for any of those guys and then try again next year. And one thing that I thought was interesting, that the timeline that I think Jeff Passan gave for Acuna was 9 to 10 months. That seems a little short for an ACL for me. I might be off, but that seems a little short. Right. Either way, that's like halfway. Yeah, it's halfway into next year almost. Mm-hmm. So the Braves might be in play for an outfielder, in free agency next year that they might not have been in the first place, even if it's somebody like a Tommy Pham or a Corey Dickerson. That's a suitable bat that they might not have been in play for in the first place that they might be now. But yeah, I think the Braves, it should be the white flag. I think they should just move some guys and try again next year.
It
Yeah.
kind of feels like the Red Sox from last year in a way. Not a perfect one-to-one comparison, but it's a talented team and it has plenty of talent. You kick it this year, you take your losses, you see what you can get, maybe boost your draft pick, and then all of a sudden you're ending up as the Red Sox a year later, you're leading the AL East and you're probably going to get someone
Jack
like a Jack Leiter. So it's like
That's gonna be sad.
it's like exactly. It's like you take your losses there and maybe just kick the can down the road a season, but there's a lot of talent there. I think they can retool this and kind of like you guys were saying, figure something out. There's a lot of talent and it's a weekend at least. But
If they didn't lose Hector Yanoa and
Yeah.
Mike Soroka for the rest of the year, I would say that they should buy. But those guys are out, so their starting
Yeah.
pitching depth is really, really depleted outside of rentals. So I'm not sure if it's really
Fair.
worth it to buy on that part.
I would agree.
It's true. That's true.
Let's jump to inning 3. A little bit of All-Star game talk here. This year's All-Star team saw some changes over the past few days, but for now, the rosters are set. Who ended up being the biggest All-Star snub? And given the constant discussions around fan voting, would you ever make any changes there? We'll start with Christian.
So David Fletcher, I'd want to say, is the biggest snub, but he got hot way too late. It's J.P. Crawford for me. They put in Whit Merrifield and Tim Anderson over him, and I vehemently disagreed with those two. It was
Pitiful.
absolutely sad. But I mean,
I can't give you points for that, right?
I know. It's Tim Anderson. He has regressed. I deserve points for the regression. Would I change anything to the All-Star voting? No. I think after what Kansas City and their fake fan base did in 2015, MLB went and changed a lot up within our sport and within the voting, and it's at a really nice place right now. I like that players are more involved with the voting as well. Them being able to vote in their fellow teammates and comrades, it's nice. I like the voting where it is.
J. Roy, what you thinking?
Who is the biggest All-Star snub? I don't know. Maybe Bryce Harper.
Okay, I'm gonna have to take away points from you, aren't I?
Think about it. Okay, this
He's not
guy
even the biggest Phillies snub.
coming in. Okay, coming into today, he had 143 weighted runs created plus. His xWOBA is 97th percentile. He had a 405 xWOBA coming in today. His walk rate's down a little bit and his K rate's up a little bit, but his O swing and Z swing are right around where they were last year. So I'm going to chalk that up to small sample size season. And he's been phenomenal at the plate. He's been really good, and he's only been kind of bad on defense. So I'll take that. It's Bryce. Bryce he's been great at the plate. I'm super happy with his performance so far. 2.2 WAR going into the break. I'll take it. He's the biggest snub.
Any All-Star voting changes or no?
Oh yeah, so I think where we are right now with fan voting is not bad. Like Christian said, I think it's pretty good that players are more involved with it, and it's fun going in there and voting for your favorite All-Stars. I don't know. I like fan voting. I know we complain about it every year because inevitably we're going to get mad at some fans for not knowing as much as we do. I mean, that's going to happen no matter what the system is. I like fan voting. I don't have too big of a problem with it.
Ethan, what you got?
Part of me just wants to say Yasmani Grandal just to see how many points you'll give me. But Yordan Alvarez.
Oh, you lost out on about 10 points.
10 points.
Yeah,
I
it is what it
retroactively
is.
changed my answer then.
Unfortunately, no, that's not how this game is played.
Thought I'd see where I could get with that. Yordan Alvarez. I understand he's primarily a DH outside of a handful of games in left field this year, and he was never going to surpass Shohei Ohtani at any point anyway. But the Astros have scored the most runs in baseball this year, and Alvarez has been a huge part of that. Entering today, his WRC plus this year was 149, which is tied with Carlos Correa, his teammate, who was named an All-Star. His weighted on base was 384, which is also the exact same as Carlos Correa's. So he's been an absolute force for the Astros. I think Friday was his 162nd career game, and he had a slash of 308, 393, 603 with 44 home runs in those 162 games. This dude can absolutely rake. I think he was snubbed from the All-Star game and from the Home Run Derby. I think he would have put on an absolute show in the Home Run Derby. In terms of the fan voting, I'm not a huge fan. I understand that it's a good way to keep fans engaged. I totally get that. But it often produces terrible results, and that might just be coming from a Pirates fan who never sees anything good happen to them ever. I was absolutely amazed that Adam Frazier was still voted in as a starter.
And Reynolds.
Yeah, Reynolds did get in eventually too, but that wasn't because of the fan voting, which it should have been. He should be starting. I would weigh the fan votes a little bit less in comparison to I like how the players and the coaches have an input on who gets in now. I think they should have an input on who starts as well, and maybe just weigh the fan votes a little bit less. But I do agree that it's a good way to keep fans involved, and it should be still part of the process in some capacity.
And Diego.
Yeah, so oddly enough, my answer is just Yasmani Grandal. He was snubbed at that AL catcher position. Like, I still think Perez having a great season.
You weren't kidding.
But I still think, Grandal, he's the new walk god. Like, a lot of fans don't get, his average is really bad, but he gets on his walk percentage is 25%, which is insane. He was absolutely should be in Colorado. I think he got hurt, so we did get it. Not even I think so. It's unfortunate he would have missed the game anyway, but that doesn't excuse fans or media or anyone else for excluding him from that. Him getting that All-Star appearance. He should have had it. He's just been incredible this year. The injury would have kept him out of the game anyway, like I just said, but it is what it is. Yasmani Grandal should have been named an All-Star this year. As far as fan voting goes, I agree with Ethan with the fact that the fan vote should count for less. I think it's the NBA that does the style of All-Star voting where fans get X percent, media gets X percent, and players get X percent. And I think their media or the fan voting is 25, maybe 30% of it. I think maybe that style could benefit a lot because ultimately, who's going to know more about who deserves to be an All-Star than the players? The fans, sure, we like to vote for our favorite players and players we want to see, but a lot of the time, that's just you get guys starting the All-Star game who shouldn't be starting the All-Star game, and guys who are ridiculous, having really good years, maybe for 1 or 2 weeks. That shouldn't even be in. So I think changing it kind of to an NBA style, you could see that and it'd be really good. And I think that's a good way to fix it.
You've been on this too many times. You know how to rig the system. That was well done, and it is what it is. I
it
respect
wasn't my answer.
You know what, Laz? You can either be like Diego and curry favor for you to get points, or you can come on here and speak your mind the way I do. So.
You refused to talk about Ryan Howard a second ago, buddy. I don't want to hear it.
Because I've taken enough of that, Diego, and you know it.
I'm a terrible take. That's why.
Oh, God.
I'm not talking about this.
Not surprised. Don't you want to speak your mind, J. Roy? What's up, bud?
Oh, God. All right, Junior. We'll get off you for a little bit. Inning 4.
I promise no such thing.
Yeah, that's fair. Also fair. Fact or fiction, it's surprising to see so many players opt out of the All-Star game this year. We've had not only all of the Astros participants decide to opt out, but Jacob DeGrom's another name. When I originally wrote this, I wrote it specifically about the Astros players themselves without really realizing how many other players opted out, so I expanded that a little bit. But anyway, Christian, fact or fiction?
If I'm shocked, I would say it's a fiction. We had a 60-game season last year. We came back, a huge amount of injuries this season. Everyone's hurt. There's not a single player who's playing fully healthy right now. They're all deserving of this long 4-day break. I really wasn't shocked, especially not with any pitcher right now. There is no need for them to hurt themselves with this All-Star game. I think it's hilarious that no Astro is going to be attending the All-Star game. That's pretty sad. If you're scared of fans or something, you don't want to be on other dugouts with other teams. It's sad. It's pathetic on their part. At least one person should be in Colorado for the Houston Astros right now.
Ethan.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not surprised at all, especially with how many injuries there have been. The All-Star game is cool, but it's really a meaningless game. I wouldn't want to risk hurting myself and costing myself a lot of money just to play in the All-Star game. But I think it's worth noting that everyone who opted out of the All-Star game, that wasn't it wasn't either because of an injury or like because they pitched today. It was either a Houston Astro or someone who has already been an All-Star before. So like the people who are making the All-Star game for the first time, that's still a big deal. Like especially both of the guys for the Pirates, they're both first-time All-Stars. That's a big deal, and it becomes less of an achievement, I guess, if you've already been there before. Like the players don't really care as much. So I just thought that was worth noting. But yeah, I agree about the Astros too. Like, take your punishment. Like they already didn't have to deal with anything anyway because they didn't get punished by the league, and you just don't want to go to the All-Star game. I don't know. I think it's stupid.
Can't get booed by 45,000. What are you doing with yourself?
J. Roy?
So I mean, I'm going to agree with them that it's not surprising. I think we've seen a lot of injuries this year, and coming off the shortened season last year, a bunch of different factors. It's not surprising that these players aren't necessarily playing, but it's disappointing. It's super disappointing. I mean, I love the All-Star break. Personally, like it's so awesome seeing the Derby and then the game and all the players lining up on the line and they call out their names and you're like, oh, he's from my team. There's Aaron Nola. Like, oh, it's awesome. I love the All-Star game. And so like I want to see as many players out there as possible. And players weren't really ducking the game back when I don't know, maybe it was happening back when the winner got home field in the World Series. I don't think it was happening as much then. I thought that was a pretty dumb way to do it. Like, I think there's better ways to make the game actually kind of meaningful. I think maybe like we could give players some sort of like cash incentive for actually playing in the All-Star game, because I think it's a good thing for the game. Like, imagine if Shohei was just like, yeah, I don't want to play in the All-Star game. That would be terrible. Like, that would be objectively very bad, I think, for the game. Like, and that would be bad because all these Japanese people that might watch the All-Star game and be like, wow, Ohtani's like, what if he, I think it's just all around bad. I think we need to do something. Manfred needs to do something about getting players into this game and caring about it a little bit. You don't have to care about it a ton. Right now, the NBA All-Star game, for example, is like a joke. Like, no one really cares about that. No one plays any defense. But the MLB All-Star game is usually pretty good. Like, usually you watch it and, you see all the best players throw at least one inning. It's good. It's fun. And I think that we can – it can't be that hard to get these players incentivized to play in it somehow. And I think that we should definitely do something about it.
It can't be that hard, but will they do it? Two very different things.
No, good point. Good point.
Diego.
What you seem to forget there is it can't be that hard, but you also remember all the buffoons at the top of MLB are just numbskull idiots who don't know how to make anything good. So you forget that part. It's a very important detail.
No, I agree.
Exactly. But anyway, am I surprised that a bunch of people are opting out? No. I agree with everything everyone else has said about health reasons. I mean, going from 60 to 162, that's a huge difference, especially for pitchers. Like, you want to give your arm, a good little rest there in the middle. I understand it completely. And the Astros are also a bunch of coward babies who don't want to face anybody anyway. So they are just, going to dip out from anything. Take your punishment. Like, a bunch of guys are going to be really shady about it, and you deserve it. So, don't be a baby about it. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, I'm still going to watch the All-Star game. It's very fun to watch. It's very exciting. Kind of like J. Roy said, you get a lot of your favorite players there. You get to watch them play in the field. You get to pitch a little bit. I just really like watching good pitching. So the All-Star game is the best time to do that. But yeah, I mean, I don't blame any single, actually, except for the Astros. I don't blame anyone else for opting out for health reasons, because health ultimately is a top priority. It should always be the top priority for these players during the season. So am I surprised? No. Disappointed a little bit? Yes, kind of like Jared said earlier. But I completely get it, so I'm not mad about it either.
Did we get Jerry's comments on the Astros? I want him to comment on the Astros.
Okay, yeah. No, I was actually going to say something. Yeah, it's horrible that none of the Astros are coming to the game. That it's just all around soft. I don't like it at all. I don't. So okay, it's Correa and
Altuve.
Altuve.
yeah, Pereira,
I think
Altuve.
Brantley and Ryan Presley. Like
Ryan
not even
Presley,
Ryan
yeah.
Presley's going to the All-Star game.
exactly. Like none of them are injured right now. None of
Brantley
them,
is, but
they're
no
all
one else.
Correa
Okay,
went
Michael
into the
Brantley is
IL.
okay. So like, okay, the ones that are healthy, like you should be at the All-Star game. Like like I know
Yeah.
Altuve's won like I don't know how many times he's been an All-Star by now, a bunch, but like
Too many.
you should be like, like if it comes off as that they're scared just to like be around other teams, like it's a bad look. It's a bad look. I think if you're them, you should be like, yeah, like you should just own it and be like, I did what I did. I didn't think it, like it's terrible on all fronts. Shame on them.
I think Dusty Baker
Yeah.
put out a comment a day or two ago, like, "Oh, fans are going to need to get over something that happened a couple of years ago."
Yeah.
Well, you're taking away every opportunity for the fans to just take it out on your guys, boo them into oblivion, and then they'll
And
let
then
it
they can
go.
get over it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Everyone just needs that opportunity just to boo them into next Tuesday, and then you're done. Like the All-Star game was a perfect place for that, even though it wasn't ideal for the players. Like if you wanted this to be over, that would have been a way to get it done. That's
Easy.
one of the biggest things for me.
Especially
Take your
considering
public
like,
shaming and move on.
Yeah, exactly. Take it, and it'll be over sooner rather than later if you do something
Yeah.
like that. That's my
Yeah,
opinion.
The MLB
especially like
community's only
Altuve,
gonna-
like 4 years ago, Altuve was one of the most popular players in the league. Like
Yeah.
everyone loved
Now
Altuve.
he's one of the most
you know,
hated.
like sure, what? Yeah, now he's one of the most hated. Yeah, sure. Some people thought he stole the MVP from Judge, like whatever. But like everyone loved the guy. Like the media loved him. Like fans loved him. So like he can get back to that. Like there's not like his career. People are just gonna hate him forever. I mean, people like tend to get past these things. If they just owned it. If they were just like, yeah, like we messed up here. Yeah. So I think them not going to the All-Star game is acting directly against their own self-interest, which I don't understand.
Cowards.
I would agree. Let's jump to inning 5 here. After losing 11 straight games at 1 point over the course of the last 2 weeks, the Cubs have gone from the NL Central frontrunners to likely sellers at the deadline. And I mean, their ownership and GM Jed Hoyer have even alluded to that, hey, they're probably going to sell at least some pieces at this deadline. So, I guess, put it this way, assuming that the Cubs do end up selling, how big of a sell-off is this? Who are some of the names you'd expect to go and potentially where to? Let's start with Christian.
So Chris Bryant's obviously gone. There's no doubt in anyone's mind Chris Bryant will not be a Chicago Cub after July. Where he's going to go, I could see Chicago. I could see Oakland.
He's in
Oakland's-
Chicago.
True. He's playing for the real Chicago team right now.
Uh-oh.
I think the only player on those teams is Javier Baez. He's going to be staying.
Which is interesting because you wouldn't have guessed that. I don't know. I think he would have been one of the first ones, but I don't know what they're going to do with him now. But Ethan?
Yeah, I think the Cubs should sell because they stink. That's been my take
Good reason.
this whole season. I'm standing by it. They can get rid of a couple of key pieces without it being a complete teardown. I think, obviously, like he said, Bryant and Craig Kimbrell are also, I think they're both just about out the door already. I also like the White Sox for Chris Bryant and Kimbrell for the Red Sox. I think those would both be really good fits for those teams. Baez and Rizzo are obviously also on expiring contracts. I don't think they are as likely to go, but it wouldn't surprise me if they did. But also a couple other guys who probably weren't being talked about a whole lot. Zach Davies, Dan Winkler, Jake Marisnik, Ryan Tepera. Those are all solid pieces, and they're on expiring contracts as well. So I could definitely see those guys being on the move too.
J-Roy?
Yeah, so I think that the Cubs should sell, and I think that the Phillies made sure of that this last week by putting the beat down on them. I'm gonna say that I think Chris Bryant will definitely be gone. I don't know if he'll go to Oakland. Like I don't really know. Like I think Nationals seems kind of likely, and maybe another NL East team. Like he'd be a really good fit on the Phillies. Like Alec Boehm is in virus protocols right now. We've got Ronald Torreyes playing third, so
It's also bad.
I was gonna say, is virus
also not
protocol
good at
a
baseball.
code for not playing well? Like
he was on a really, really good hot streak right before he.
Right.
Okay, so y'all can get out of here with that take. I'm gonna shut that down right now. So I think that KB could go to one of those teams. White Sox is an interesting one. I think that I could maybe see that happening, and I think Kimbrel will get shipped too, for sure. I'm not necessarily sure where I think Kimbrel will go. There are a lot of teams that could use a good bullpen arm like him, namely the Phillies. But so I could see a lot of different spots for them. Like Ethan mentioned, Rizzo and Baez. I'm not sure if I see them getting rid of Rizzo and Baez, because I think that the Cubs should kind of, like you said, get rid of a couple pieces. You don't really need to do a full teardown. You've already been there, Like I don't know if I'd want to go that far if I'm a Cubs fan, but I definitely do think that they should be selling a couple of their pieces.
and Diego.
The Cubs, they can, like everyone said, they can sell as much as they want or as little as they want and still probably be in a decent spot for next year. I think Chris Bryant definitely is the first one out the door. And surprisingly, I'm surprised no one mentioned Chris Bryant to the Mets. I've seen that as a take all everywhere, really. And I think it makes a lot of sense. If the Mets want to distance themselves in that terrible division that they play in, that's a good way to do so. It gets you a good bat. It gets you some versatility to play third and even outfield, because he plays more in the outfield than he does at third at this point in Chicago. So I think that's a really good fit for him. I think a lot of their bullpen can be on the move too. I think a guy like Dan Winkler would be good in Boston. I think you can see Andrew Chafin on the move as well, a fan favorite there in Chicago. I think Chafin might end up in Oakland. Oakland needs to add some pieces to, really give the Astros a run for their money. And this is more so me just being hopeful. I want Kimbrel to San Francisco. I've seen some reports on it. None of them are too serious. Like I said earlier, the Giants don't really want to give up too much, and Kimbrel would probably require a lot to be given up. And plus, every time the Giants bring in a reliever via a big name reliever, they're awful via Mark Melancon being hot garbage in San Francisco and then going to San Diego and becoming one of the best closers in baseball, because of course that's how it would work. But yeah, I think a lot of their bullpen guys can be gone. Rizzo, I've also seen connect to the Red Sox, so that could be interesting. I think Red Sox fans are also just really want everyone, because that's how they are. They're almost as bad as Yankee fans. But either way, they're definitely going to be moving a lot of pieces around. I can see the bullpen pieces going first, though.
It'd be interesting to see what the Cubs end up doing. I think they're in a weird spot as well. It's a little bit different than the Braves or the Red Sox of last year, because you have some big expiring contracts. It's how much money are you willing to spend? And it's sad and ironic and also funny to see, you fought so hard, the most not just the most egregious, but also the most well-known case of service time manipulation, and you're selling him off before that final year even ends. So
ironic, isn't it?
Ironic, sad, funny, whatever you want to use it for. Let's head into inning 6. Let's talk more about buyers and sellers, particularly potential buyers right now. The Mariners, when we recorded this, are just 6 games back in the AL West and 2.5 games back in the wild card. Now, that might have changed based on the final ending of the games today, but they're still close is basically what it comes down to. Not a team you'd expect at current to be so close to a playoff spot. So let's start with the AL West fan in Christian. What should the Mariners be doing at the deadline this year?
If the Mariners are going to be doing anything this year, it's probably selling. They're over 500 right now. Their run differential is under by 50. Their bullpen is amazing. That's the only saving grace of that team right now, is just the bullpen. If they were to buy, they have to buy controlled players. The Mariners are not a team that can afford to go and buy any rental player. So Joey Gallo, maybe, but you're trading for Joey Gallo, and it does nothing. I think they would be better off trading Mitch Haniger and trading off pieces that have a year and a half or just a half a year left.
Just a
Because they're
shameless
not
plug.
an actual
Go ahead.
competitive team. Sorry,
And that's fair.
they're not a competitive team.
Yeah. Shameless plug, Mitch Haniger to the South Side. I hope I hope that's nice and loud for everybody to hear.
Haniger to the White Sox.
Let's go to Diego.
Yeah, I think the Mariners, if they really wanted to, they can absolutely make a push. They've got a very young, exciting team. But I also don't think they have to go out and buy a ton of pieces. They have some guys in AAA and in the minors that I think can really help them out. They called up Rayleigh today. Cal Dumper Rayleigh came up to the Mariners today. So, I mean, we'll see how much that's going to help them out. I've heard Kelenick's going to be back up to stay after the All-Star break. And if they do end up shipping Haniger out to the White Sox, then you have kind of that outfield spot you can play with. Like Christian said, they need controllable guys. They're not exactly ultra competitive, or they're not a team you think of to be ultra competitive. So there's no harm in bringing up these guys to see what your future kind of is right now. And what, state that is, if these guys come up, play really, really well, get you closer and closer to, that division lead, the wild card spot, then I say in the offseason, that's when you make your move to absolutely buy, go for it. But for right now, for this All-Star break, I call up the guys you got, maybe a bat or two, sell Haniger to the White Sox, sell someone else somewhere else. Not that it matters too much, but see what you got in-house and then buy in the offseason.
Ethan, what say you?
Yeah, I could see them possibly buying and selling, like Diego kind of alluded to. I don't think the Mariners are exactly a huge threat to make a playoff push, but if they feel like they are, I've seen them connected to Nelson Cruz potentially. They maybe could make a play for Chris Bryant, maybe. I think that would kind of make some sense if they wanted to go that direction. Another starting pitcher or two would help them out, maybe like a Drew Smiley or a Tyler Anderson would just help stabilize the rotation if they wanted to make a push. But at the same time, they could definitely sell off a couple pieces. Obviously, Mitch Haniger, they could get something for, and Kendall Graveman has just come out of nowhere to be a really good relief pitcher for them. They could absolutely get a pretty nice return for Kendall Graveman, I think, based on the way he's pitching. So yeah, I could see them, going both directions, and then, like Diego said, making another big push in the offseason.
J-Roy?
Yeah, they're in a kind of a really weird spot because they're 6.5 back of the Astros, and I don't think they win that division at all. But they're only 2.5 back of the A's, or 2.5 back, something like that, of the A's. But they've got they're only 1.5 games above the Jays right now, and I think the Blue Jays are a better team. I think they might overtake them in the second half. I would sell if I were them. It's kind of tricky to decide who they should move. I think Mitch Haniger to the White Sox would be a really good fit, actually. I could very much see that happening. I don't know what they'll decide to do with him, but if I were them, I would end up selling because I don't think that – even if they go out and get, like Christian said, Gallo, like Christian said or Ethan said for KB, like I don't know if that moves the needle enough for them to get that second wild card spot. Like, and you're doing all this for the second wild card spot where you might lose out in that game, and you're like, well, we just gave up a couple of our our really good pieces or a prospect or two, or even cash consideration. Like, I just don't think it's worth it for them. They're a super mediocre team. Even though they've played above 500 ball to this point, I just don't think it's worth it for them. I would sell and move some pieces.
The future is still to come for the Mariners, I think, and you don't want to do things that prevent you from being able to work towards that goal. And some short-term pieces and trading away some long-term pieces in the process, you don't want to make a trade you're going to end up regretting.
It's a very exciting
I can
future,
agree with,
very bright.
Yeah, very exciting, very bright future, and you don't want to make moves that necessarily jeopardize that. As we enter inning 7, our final question here, since it is a prediction question, no one's going to get any points. So, Diego, a narrow victory. Congratulations again. Let's jump to the final question. Inning 7. We get the home run derby this week. Shohei Ohtani, Juan Soto, Salvi Perez, Pete Alonso, Joey Gallo, Trevor Story, Matt Olson, and Trey Mancini in Coors Field. Everyone, give me your prediction. Who's taking home the title? Diego, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I'm going to go with probably an uncommon pick. I'm going to go Trey Mancini. Just because, I mean, who's not rooting for Trey Mancini?
True.
Nobody. Probably except for Christian
Except
and
for
the Angels fans everywhere. but Trey Mancini, incredible story. And also, if you look at his numbers, his X slugging is 80 percentile, barrel 83%. And also, it's Coors. So if you get a barrel on the ball, it's probably out.
Yeah.
He's got an 83 percentile barrel rate. Like, give me Trey Mancini. I would love to see Trey Mancini take the victory in Coors because that would make me feel warm and fuzzy inside.
Ethan?
I have Shohei Ohtani losing in the final to Matt Olson.
Interesting. J. Roy?
Okay, yeah. So I think there's only one answer here, and the answer is Joey Gallo. I think Gallo will win this home run derby. The guy hit a home run in the All-Star game a couple years ago. He's about the moment. He's about the bright lights. I'm telling you. I think we see a 500-foot home run from him. Absolutely. I will put money on the fact that I think we will see a 500-foot home run from Joey Gallo. The guy's just possesses incredible power. It's a home run derby, so we never really know. But if I had to pick one guy, I think I'm gonna pick Gallo. Ohtani's got a really, really good shot. Mancini has like sneaky underrated power. I think that Mancini's performance is gonna look a little bit like Bregman's did. Where he hits a lot of like really low liners and racks up some home runs like that, but ends up losing in the second round to a guy that just has like way more pop than him. But besides Ohtani, no one's really hotter right now than Gallo is. Like the guy's mashing, and so I think he'll carry that into the home run derby, and I think we see a Josh Hamilton type show from Joey Gallo.
Christian, do I even have to ask you?
So for the longest time now, since Pete Alonso has been announced, I've been saying that Pete Alonso is going to win. He's going to win exactly how he beat Vladdy, just Vladdy getting tired out, beating better competition. But no, Shohei Ohtani is going to win this. There's no doubt. There's no doubt.
Way. That's your pick?
Yeah.
Crazy, right? The guy's done home run derbies before in Japan. He's won. It's his natural swing. Like everything about the home run derby is Shohei Ohtani. It's his moment. There's nothing about the home run derby or the All-Star game that he is not going to win this year.
I think it'll be cool to see Ohtani in the All-Star or the home run derby. Though. I'm excited. This is a cool group. I'm very happy. Before we go to our final segment, one of these names is not like the other. What is Salvi Perez doing here? Sorry, we're continuing on. I've got issues that need to be addressed elsewhere with Salvi Perez. We can close it with our final segment. Usually we do what to watch for this week. Since there's not much to watch this week, I changed it up. I'm going to ask for everyone's favorite All-Star game memory. Maybe it's a personal one. Maybe it's your favorite player, whatever it might be. As we kind of wrap up here, everyone got their quick story. We'll start with J. Roy.
Okay, yeah. So my favorite All-Star game memory is kind of an ironic one because I didn't get to watch most of the game because I was actually flying to Wyoming with one of my friends going on vacation. And I remember
Wyoming's not real.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for that, Diego. That's super relevant to what I'm about to say. So, I remember being in the airport and like rushing to like a TV screen to like see the game. And I don't even remember if it was like a highlight or if it was as it was happening, but Brian McCann hit this bases clear and double that scored like Matt Holliday, Marlon Byrd, and some other guy. And I remember it was just like awesome. It was like 3-run double in the top of the seventh, brought 3 guys home. National League ended up winning the game. And I don't know, I guess maybe just like the location, just being in a really odd place, like not getting to watch the game at home, just being like out and about in an airport, literally. I don't know. I just think that's a really, really memorable All-Star moment for me. And I was a huge Brian McCann fan, so I just thought that was a cool moment.
Diego?
Yeah, for me, I remember this is like really the only vivid memory I have of any All Star game I've watched, and it was Mariano Rivera's final All Star game. I remember just like sitting in front of the TV, being like, "This is it." It was a big, very theatric, a lot of big deals made about it. Then I remember watching it. I'm like, because it was very like a few years after I'd really gotten into baseball, and I'm like, man, that's tough, but. It was really like cool to watch and interesting, and then he had a perfect inning. So I'm like, this is baseball, and it just felt good.
Christian?
It's funny that J-Roy said that Brian McCann. That's my least favorite moment of all time. Brian McCann, one of my favorite catchers, is a Hall of Famer, by the way, the second best catcher of the 2000s behind Buster Posey.
I agree.
My favorite moment has to be Jeter's last All-Star game, and it's not because of Jeter. It's because that for like the whole month leading up to that All-Star game, they spoke about if Jeter gets a base hit, he's going to win the All-Star game MVP, and then he hits Wainwright grooves him a fastball, he gets that, and then Mike Trout bitches on Wainwright, wins MVP, and Jeter's night's ruined by Mike Trout, and that's love that. That'll forever be my favorite moment.
Shocker.
Honestly, I respect it.
I respect it. Ethan, bring us home here.
Mine goes back to the year 2008 when I was just a 10-year-old little boy.
I was going to say, how old were you?
I was 10 years old in 2008. Does anybody know who the only Pirates All-Star representative was in 2008?
Someone who probably didn't.
Nate McLouth.
Oh,
that makes
He was the
sense.
Pirates All-Star in 2008.
that's a name.
Really is a
That's a
good
great
answer
name.
though.
Braves legend.
In the 11th inning of that game, I stayed up as a little kid to watch this. The whole game went 15 innings. In the 11th inning of that game, Nate McLouth made an outfield assist throwing out a guy at home from center field that saved the game at that point, even though they ended up losing anyway. That doesn't matter. And I guarantee you that was the first time that either Joe Buck or Peter Gammons had ever said Nate McLouth's name, ever. But that was the first time that I can remember ever being really excited by anything a Pirate did in an All-Star game.
That's fantastic.
Jordan, I'm kind of interested to hear yours.
See, I don't have a lot of them. I thought about this question. I think the
That's why
biggest
Slugs
one
kinda
for
makes
me,
sense.
I was like, it's never been super impressive. I think the biggest one was Giolito, I guess, in 2019. Just, I guess his story. It's more recent. It's been the best story since I've started writing and watching and blogging and doing all this stuff. So it's recency bias. If I thought harder about it, I'd probably think of something else maybe. But I think just his whole story in 2019 was a cool one. So
For sure.
Can I just
Especially
jump in real
how-
quick
how-
for
how
2
much Gladden would
seconds?
give you for him.
Yes.
yes, exactly.
Ethan.
Can I just jump in 2 seconds here? Totally unrelated. The draft apparently just started. It's Henry Davis at 1-1 to the Pirates.
Oh, I'm so sorry,
Okay.
Scott.
Wow.
Scott, I am so sorry. No way. I called it like with Scott. I'm so sorry. That's sad.
Wow.
That's something.
Tough. That's
And
tough.
I mean, this is a good segue to saying we should probably wrap up so we don't steal too much content from our next live stream audience. Make sure if you're tuning into this to tune in right after for an All-Star draft, or excuse me, an All-Star break draft with some of our crew. We'll have it on our social media at Diamond_Digest on Twitter, Instagram, Diamond.Digest, website, diamond-digest.com. That's going to do it for us. For Diego Franco Carreno, Ethan Fisher, Jonathan Roy, Jay Roy, and Christian Lloyd, this is Jordan Lazowski signing off. Take care. And just remember, if you're not happy with your team's pick tonight, the A's chose Kyler Murray 9th in 2018. Take care, everyone. Have a great night and enjoy our next live
Fire
stream.
dramatic. Fire dramatic.
Go baseball.